Mike dust cracks the code tonight. Oh yeah, that's true. Wires and circuits that shine in neon lights. Oh yes, he knew. Creating power from the air, he smiled delight. Oh yeah. Mike does it right. Hey. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Properties, legacy, alive, his hands. Mike just knows we're his biggest fans. Down in the basement, secrets start to glow. Oh yeah, white, clean, blue, like never shop pro, brilliant teen, not forbidden there. It's where any knowledge flows. Energy streams. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Properties, legacy, alive, his hands. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Years of thoughts, bringing dreams to life. Turning theories into electric light. Mike and us, a journey to ignite. Oh yeah, we've reached new heights. Hey. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Properties, legacy, alive, his hands. Mike just knows we're his biggest fans.
To repeat this process over and over and over. But what you really want to do is you want to go as fast as you can without a capacitor, for the simple fact is you want to put a lot of this radiant energy to the source.
Cookies! Put that cookie down! Now!
This is your run battery. See positive going through this diode to charge this capacitor. Positive to charge the capacitor. Positive on one end. You have to put this negative on the other end of this capacitor. And there is the ground, right down there. So the negative can pass through the diode and properly biased as it is, and charge this capacitor. And how does it charge? Well, it looks like constant DC. Constant current DC. There's no pulse required to charge this capacitor. In fact, there is no pulse going on here. The transistor does not need to operate to potentialize that capacitor. So the capacitor gets charged with 12 volts constant. It has a float potential over it. Once it charges, there will be no more flow through the coil, no current flow. Once the charge to that capacitor is done, the current flow through this coil stops, and it no longer produces a magnetic field to interrupt the wheel operation. And what else do I see here? Oh, the flyback, I think, is going into the same capacitor here, which is why he has a Zener diode somewhere in here. I saw it. I think it's right there. Sorry, yeah, this must be a different drawing, but he puts a Zener, 18 volt Zener, to protect the logic gate, I guess, which does the regulation of the voltage back to the charge battery. So why did he have that Zener, 18 volt Zener? To protect the logic gate from the flyback. So only 18 volts of the flyback will get to the gate, or to the logic, or 18 volts or less. That's what I'm guessing he has the Zener for. And when the transistor closes right here and switches the same coil that feeds constant DC to the capacitor here, he switches the gate on the transistor and pulses the coil one time, and then the coil flies back. He has, from the battery, he puts the plus here and the minus here on the coil to charge it one time, and then it flies back inverted polarity like so, plus and minus on the other side. And that same plus now can go through this diode again into this capacitor, the flyback, because the negative side of this flyback right here I believe it can cross through the battery plates and force charge, or force reverse charge this battery, the primary battery, in order to get to this ground down here at the bottom This is also a ground. So this negative flyback, I believe he's using the battery to cross through the battery with the negative flyback. Even though he's sending a negative into the positive terminal of the battery. But this is high voltage, low current. So I do believe you can do this with low voltage, with high voltage, low current. Send a negative through the positive. Because even though the battery is kind of a biased to current flow, it can receive in both directions. There's no semiconductor inside the battery preventing that from happening. And we already know it can discharge in one direction and charge in the other. So that leads you to believe certain things about batteries and plates inside there. So anyway, the negative flyback cuts through the positive terminal of the battery, up the negative terminal of the battery. Why does it go that way? Because it has to meet this positive. That negative has to meet up with that positive. The negative flyback has to meet the positive flyback. We already know the positive flyback is going down this way through the diode into the capacitor. We need to get the negative flyback on the other end here. And we do it through ground right there, earth ground. See, and it's down here at the bottom too. So this negative will be able to cut across the battery plates into the ground, back up the ground through the diode. Because it's a negative, it can go this way through that diode because it's properly biased, and charge up the capacitor. So essentially what I see going on here is Bedini is sending a constant current 12 volts across this capacitor in the linear amplifier regulator, and he's doing it using these two flyback diodes. They're both high voltage, and he used them because after he sends the constant 12 volts into this capacitor, and it stays constant even during the flyback, which I think is pretty handy. So you keep the potential there on that capacitor. And mind you, once this capacitor is charged, it's not going to interfere with this coil and the field generation, because it's no longer creating a load on this coil, and it just won't create a field either. So he keeps this charged, and he charges it like so, and the negative goes down the ground, back up the ground through the diode, the charge here. And that's the forward charge from the battery, the constant charge. And then the flyback comes out the same way. And how do you know that? Because first you have a plus here and a minus here on your forward charge. And then the field inverts during the flyback, and this becomes a positive, and that becomes a negative. And that's how you know this positive can go through that diode, and this negative can go through the battery, through the ground, back up the ground, and through this diode to charge the capacitor inside the linear amplifier regulator. Very ingenious move by John Bedini here. It's not something that's not done here and there. They do things like this in electronics. They do put constant charges over things for certain purposes, and this is a good one. This is a good reason to do it here. Like Bedini said, there's no secrets here, no mysteries. He's using well-known electronic concepts to do things. I mean, not well-known, but known. They're known, not well-known. Anyway, that's what I see going on here with this linear amplifier regulator. Short one for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
what you really want to do is you want to go as fast as you can without a capacitor, for the simple fact is you want to put a lot of this radiant energy to the source. You want to repeat this process over and over and over. But what you really want to do is you want to go as fast as you can without a capacitor, for the simple fact is you want to put a lot of this radiant energy to the source. process over and over and over. But what you really want to do is you want to go as fast as you can without a capacitor. It's just as fast. You want to put a lot of
was 70 years old, Robert Adams of New Zealand designed a very effective motor generator. He was told to destroy his device or he would be killed. Robert decided that at his age he had very little to lose, and so he published his design. His motor overcomes the Lenz's law drag effect, and through clever engineering achieves a power output which is 8 times greater than the input power. Although it does not look as if it is, his design is actually a permanent magnet motor. The diagram of his motor, which is supposed to show how it works, is this. This gives the impression that the rotation of the rotor carrying the permanent magnets is driven by electrical pulses like John Bedini's famous motor. It isn't. This is a permanent magnet motor, and the rotation of the rotor is caused primarily by the magnets in the rotor being attracted to the solid iron cores of the 2 drive electromagnets shown in the diagram. The electromagnets confuse people, as they don't realize that the level of power applied to them is so low that it only just cancels the backward drag of the magnets as soon as they pass the electromagnet cores. That happens 4 times per revolution, and the power is only switched on when the rotor magnet is exactly aligned with the electromagnet, and then only briefly. These 2 electromagnets, along with their very carefully timed electric pulses, are the entire drive for the generator. The timing of the drive coil pulses is arranged by an optical timing disc of this type. The timing disc is mounted on the side of the rotor, and the sensor is operated by slots cut in the rim of the actual timing disc. Let's concentrate on the drive for the moment. After much experimentation, Robert found that the most efficient arrangement is when the cores of the drive electromagnets have half the cross-sectional area of the rotor magnets. So if the rotor magnets have a circular cross-section, then their diameter would be twice that of the drive electromagnet's diameter. Robert also found that the best gap between the rotor magnets and the drive electromagnets is about half an inch, which is 12 millimeters. A further tweak to the drive system is the fact that the drive electromagnets are fed a continuous stream of electric pulses. Now, when a coil is powered up and then the current switched off, the coil generates a reverse voltage pulse, sometimes called a back EMF pulse, a term which annoys some electronic purists no end. In Robert's motor generator, those back EMF pulses are used twice. First, as the coils are energized in order to oppose the attraction between the rotor magnets and the electromagnet cores, the back EMF, being in the opposite direction, causes the reverse effect, increasing the attraction to the next approaching rotor magnet. Second, Robert rectifies the back EMF pulses and feeds them back to the drive battery, and that recovers 95% of the current needed to make the generator work. Now we come to the power generating system, and one person who has replicated this device has an excess power output of 33 kilowatts, and that powers his house and his business. The power generation is through 4 additional electromagnets, which act as pickup coils. This is Robert's drawing of his arrangement. You will notice a number of things here. The 4 generator coils are mounted physically on a disc or a ring, while the 2 drive coils are separately mounted on their own mounts. This means that the gap between the generator coils and the drive coils can be adjusted while the motor is running. Also, you'll notice that the width of the core of the collector or generator coils is very much greater than the width of the core of the so-called drive coils. The generator coils in his drawing are very nearly square. Next, you need to notice the proportions of the rotor magnets. They're very much longer than they are wide, separating the outer north poles from the inner south poles. However, a point which seems to escape most people is the fact that a critical part of the design is the technique of cutting off the output power at the appropriate moment. Cutting off the output power sounds all wrong to most people, and yet it's a very important thing to do. The reason is the same as for the drive coils. If you don't cut off the electrical connection, then the attraction between the solid iron cores of the generator coils and the rotor magnets tries to pull the rotor magnets back towards the fixed generator coil cores, an effect which is called drag. But if the output current generated in the coils by the passing magnets is cut off at just the right instant, then the back EMF generated by that cutoff causes a magnetic field in the generator coils which boosts the rotor on its way instead of dragging it backwards. Robert also rectifies that back EMF pulse and feeds it back to the drive battery. So far, this is a highly efficient system. Robert's diagram doesn't show when the generator coils are best switched on or off. A builder with the forum ID of Memiara found optimum switching would switch on at 40 degrees and switch off at 44.7 degrees. That tiny 2.7 degree part of the rotor turn gave him an input of 27.6 watts and an output of 33.78 kilowatts, which is a coefficient of performance of 1223, or 122,300%, which is spectacular. It's suggested that a good length for the generator coils is shown when your particular rotor magnets just start to lift one end of a 32mm long paperclip off the table, like this diagram shows you, and that indicates the coil width, and it's generally a good idea to have the width of the coil 1.5 times the coil length. Robert takes his design further by using short pulses of current. This is something which is done after the rotor operation has been optimized using continuous battery power. That is, after moving the generator coils on their disk to find the best performance position and controlling the length of the pulse with the timing disc. Robert preferred to use mechanical contacts on a rotating disc to create the on and off current pulses. The disc itself is very small, but shown large here so you can see it. There is a fixed position brush and a variable position brush which slides in a slot, and the position of the brush along the metallic contacts on the disc alter the percentage of time that the current can flow. Seen from the side, you can see the fixed position brush and the variable position brush, whose position can be fixed by bolts going through a slot in the mounting here. The objective is to adjust the variable position brush to get the power connected to the motor generator for only about 25% of the time. The timing disc shown above is attached to the rotor shaft, and so no additional power is needed to achieve the switching, and the switching allows current flow in both directions, which is convenient. And connected this way, with the plus going through the switching, through the drive coils, and you need to pay attention to the direction that the coils are wound to make it work properly, and then it comes back and you have a diode and a capacitor, and that feeds the pulse circuitry back to the battery to recharge it. The overall arrangement of the whole circuit is like this. You have the long magnets on the rotor disc, the 4 generator coils and the 2 drive coils, and this is the connecting wiring. The output from the drive coils is of course alternating current. Robert Adams advises the following. 1. Use only pure iron for the cores of the drive and generator coils. 2. Wind the generator coils with a resistance in the range of 10 to 20 ohms for a small model. 3. Use a voltage between 12 volts and 36 volts for a small model. 4. For a small machine, make the contactor star disc, which switches the power on and off, a maximum of 1 inch in diameter. 5. Keep the wiring short and use a low resistance wiring. In other words, the wire diameter needs to be reasonably thick. 6. For a small machine, use a fuse of 500 milliamps to 1 amp. 7. Install a switch for convenience and safety. 8. Use small bearings. Do not use seal bearings due to their grease drag. That is, seal bearings are packed with heavy-duty grease. Now it is possible to overcome that by spinning the central part of the bearing using a power drill. After a while, that frees the drag of the grease, and you get a sealed bearing which does have lubrication and doesn't have great drag. 9. Use only silver contacts for the pulse switching. 10. If using powerful magnets, know that vibration will become a problem. 11. The air gap is not critical, but reducing it increases both torque and input power in proportion. 12. For higher voltage and lower current, connect the generator coils in series. 13. If the drive coil windings are low resistance and the input voltage is high, then it's advisable to use a transistor to eliminate sparking. 14. Tuning the points is vitally important unless you're using transistor switching. 15. Use ferrite magnets for all input voltages below 120 volts. 16. If constructing a large model involving large superpower magnets, then greater power is needed to drive the machine. The greater the torque, the greater the vibration, the greater the copper content, and so on. Please also remember that any wiring you use needs to be able to carry the current without overheating. Here are some continuous current figures for popular wire sizes, and you can see the way that the current that the wire can conveniently carry drops rapidly as the wire size gets smaller. The diameter of the wire gets smaller. If you want them, these notes are available at www.freeenergyinfo.com/adams.pdf.